I want you to walk into your kitchen right now and open the cabinet under your sink, or the one next to your bathtub. There's a good chance you already own the thing I'm about to tell you about. It's sitting in a plastic bag or a cardboard box. It costs about $2, and it's probably been there for months doing absolutely nothing except waiting for a sore muscle soak that never happened. That same bag is one of the most underrated lawn care tools that exists. Not because it replaces everything else you're doing, not because it's some miracle cure, but because most lawns in this country are missing exactly the one nutrient this powder is made of, and almost nobody thinks to check for it. I'm talking about Epsom salt. Magnesium sulfate, the stuff sold in the pharmacy aisle for foot soaks, sitting 3 feet away from products marketed for lawns that cost 10 times as much and do a fraction of the job for this specific problem. Before you go dump a bag of it on your yard, I want to actually explain what's happening chemically, because there's a right way to use this and a handful of wrong ways that waste your time and your money. So stick with me. The nutrient nobody talks about when people think about feeding a lawn, they think about one thing: nitrogen. Every bag of fertilizer on the shelf is loaded with it. Because nitrogen is what makes grass grow fast and look green in a hurry. It's the flashy nutrient. It's the one companies build entire product lines around. But nitrogen isn't the only thing grass needs to actually be healthy, and it's not even the thing most lawns are missing. Most residential soil has been mowed, watered, and stripped of the same handful of nutrients for years without anyone replacing what actually runs out. And one of the most commonly depleted nutrients in ordinary lawn soil isn't nitrogen at all. It's magnesium. Magnesium doesn't get talked about because it's not flashy. It doesn't make grass shoot up 2 inches overnight the way nitrogen does. What it does is quieter and, honestly, more important for the long-term color and density of your lawn. Magnesium is the literal center atom of a chlorophyll molecule. Not a supporting nutrient sitting near chlorophyll, an actual structural piece of it. No magnesium, no functioning chlorophyll. No functioning chlorophyll, no deep green color, no matter how much nitrogen you dump on top. That's the gap most fertilizer bags don't fill. Standard lawn fertilizer is built around nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the NPK ratio, printed on every bag. Magnesium usually isn't in the mix at all, or it's in there in such a small trace amount it barely registers. So you can fertilize a lawn every single month correctly by the book and still end up with grass that looks pale, thin, and tired, because the actual missing piece was never in the bag to begin with. Why Epsom salt, specifically Epsom salt, is magnesium sulfate. That's it. That's the entire compound. No fillers, no binders, no slow release coating, no marketing additives. Just magnesium and sulfur, both of which are nutrients grass actually uses. When you dissolve it in water and apply it to your lawn, the magnesium becomes available to the grass roots almost immediately. Because it's already water-soluble, there's no breakdown process required the way there is with granular fertilizer pellets. The grass takes it up through the root system, routes it straight into chlorophyll production. And within a short window, you start to see the color of the lawn shift into a deeper, richer green. The sulfur does something useful too. It plays a role in protein synthesis inside the plant and helps the grass use the nitrogen it already has more efficiently. So if you've been fertilizing normally and still not getting the color or density you expect, there's a real chance the nitrogen you're applying isn't being used as effectively as it could be, simply because the plant is missing the magnesium and sulfur it needs to process it properly. This is why some of the sharpest home gardeners have used Epsom salt as a supplement for decades, quietly, without ever needing to buy a specialty lawn product for it. It's not a replacement for fertilizer. It's the piece fertilizer usually leaves out. Why the lawn care industry doesn't mention this, if magnesium deficiency is this common, and the fix is a $2 bag of the exact same stuff sold at every pharmacy in the country, why does every premium lawn fertilizer avoid mentioning it? Because a bag of Epsom salt doesn't need a brand. There's no packaging to design, no seasonal treatment plan to sell, no 7-step lawn program with your name on a mailing list for reorders every 6 weeks. A company can't build a subscription model around something that costs $2 and sits in your bathroom cabinet already. The lawn care industry sells nitrogen-heavy blends because nitrogen produces a fast, visible result. Grass grows quickly, looks green for a few weeks, and then fades again right on schedule for your next purchase. Magnesium doesn't work that way. It's a slower, steadier improvement, and it doesn't need repeating every month. That's not a good business model. It's just a good lawn. If this is the kind of information you want, more of the stuff that actually works instead of what's easiest to package and sell, subscribe now. Every video on this channel is built around real chemistry, not brand loyalty. No sponsors in this one, no affiliate links, just what actually happens when you apply this to real grass. And in the comments, tell me what your lawn looks like right now, pale, thin, patchy, whatever it is, because I want to know what you're working with. How to actually use it here is where people get it wrong. Epsom salt is cheap and safe, but the ratio and the timing still matter if you want a real result instead of a wasted afternoon. The mix: 2 tablespoons of Epsom salt per gallon of water for a liquid application. Stir until it's fully dissolved. It dissolves faster than iron sulfate does, usually within a minute of steady stirring. You'll know it's ready when the water is clear with no granules settled at the bottom. 1 gallon of that mixture covers roughly 250 square feet. For an average front yard, plan on somewhere between 3 and 5 gallons total, depending on the size of the space. Load it into a pump sprayer set to a fine, even mist. The same type you'd use for any lawn treatment. A $15 sprayer from any hardware store does the job. If you'd rather skip the mixing step entirely, you can also apply it dry. Broadcast about 1 to 2 pounds of Epsom salt per 1,000 square feet using a hand spreader or even a wide scoop, then water it in immediately afterward so it dissolves down into the root zone instead of sitting on top of the blades. Timing: apply in the morning or early evening, not during peak afternoon heat, and ideally right before or right after a light watering so the magnesium moves down into the soil where the roots can actually reach it. Unlike iron sulfate, there's no strict don't water for 24 hours rule here. In fact, working it in with water is part of the point. What to expect and when. This isn't an overnight transformation the way a weed treatment is. Magnesium works on chlorophyll production, which is a gradual process. Most people start noticing a visible deepening in color within 7 to 10 days, with the full effect becoming obvious over 2 to 3 weeks. The grass doesn't just get greener, it typically gets a bit thicker too. Because healthier chlorophyll production supports stronger overall growth, not just color. You can apply Epsom salt about once a month during the growing season without any risk of overdoing it, since magnesium sulfate doesn't build up in soil the way some other treatments can. That said, more isn't automatically better. Once a month is the sweet spot. Applying it weekly won't speed up the results, it'll just waste product. Where this actually helps, and where it doesn't, I want to be straight with you about what this fixes and what it doesn't, because I'd rather you know now than be disappointed in 3 weeks. Epsom salt is most effective on lawns that are otherwise reasonably healthy but look pale, yellowish, or dull despite regular watering and mowing. If your grass is a flat, washed-out green instead of a deep, rich green, and you've ruled out obvious problems like drought stress or disease, magnesium deficiency is a very likely culprit, and this fix tends to show real results. It is not a substitute for nitrogen if your lawn is genuinely underfed. If your grass is thin, slow-growing, and not filling in bare patches, that's usually a nitrogen and overall fertility issue, and Epsom salt alone won't solve it. You still need a real fertilizer program alongside this, not instead of it. Think of magnesium as the nutrient that makes your existing fertilizer work better, not as a fertilizer replacement. It also won't do anything for weeds, moss, compacted soil, or drainage problems. This is strictly a nutrient correction. If your lawn's real issue is one of those, you're solving the wrong problem by reaching for the Epsom salt bag first. And one more honest caveat. If a soil test shows your magnesium levels are already fine, adding more won't help and can. In rare cases with heavy repeated overuse, throw off the balance between magnesium and other nutrients like calcium and potassium in the soil. This is genuinely rare at the light rates used for lawns, but if you want to be precise rather than guessing, a basic soil test kit will tell you where your magnesium levels actually stand before you start. A real before and after picture, a backyard that gets watered on schedule, mowed at the right height, fertilized every spring with a standard big box bag of lawn food, and still looks tired. Pale green, almost yellow in the brightest patches, never quite matching the deep color of the neighbor's yard 2 houses down, despite doing everything by the book. After ruling out drought stress and checking that the mowing height and watering schedule were both fine, the next test was a simple one. 2 tablespoons of Epsom salt per gallon, sprayed evenly across the whole yard on a Sunday morning, watered in lightly the same day. Nothing dramatic happened immediately, no overnight transformation like a weed kill. But by the end of the first week, there was a noticeable shift starting at the tips of the grass blades. By the 2-week mark, the color difference was unmistakable, a visibly deeper, more saturated green across the entire yard, not just in patches. By 3 weeks, the grass had also filled in slightly thicker in a few thin areas near the property line. Likely because the fertilizer that had already been applied that spring was finally being used efficiently instead of sitting underutilized in soil that was missing a key building block. Total cost of that fix, under $2, from a bag that already had plenty left over for a second and third monthly application through the rest of the growing season. Compare that to the alternative most people reach for buying a premium green-up fertilizer blend for $25 or $30, applying it, and getting a short burst of color that fades within a few weeks because it never addressed the actual missing nutrient in the first place. The $2 fix solved a problem the $30 fix was papering over. What this doesn't replace, I want to be clear about this, because I don't want anyone watching this and throwing out their entire lawn care routine. Epsom salt is a supplement, not a foundation. Your lawn still needs consistent watering, proper mowing height, and a real nitrogen source over the course of the season. This doesn't replace any of that. What it does is close a specific, commonly overlooked gap that a lot of standard fertilizer routines leave open. Think of it less like a replacement product and more like the missing ingredient in a recipe you've mostly already got right. This fits into the same system we've been building video by video on this channel. We covered soil pH a few weeks back. We covered the iron sulfate method for broadleaf weeds after that. This is the next layer, feeding the lawn the nutrient most fertilizer blends skip entirely. Next up, we're going to get into watering schedules, because even the best nutrient plan in the world won't matter if you're watering at the wrong time of day or the wrong frequency for your grass type. If you're not subscribed yet, you're building this system with pieces missing. Hit subscribe, and down in the comments, tell me what your lawn's color looks like right now, pale, yellow, patchy, whatever it is. I'll read through and tell you whether this is likely a magnesium gap or something else going on underneath. See you in the next one.